Hey everybody, Tag Life Done Free. Hey, I recently put out a video called Starve the Beast 2, where we introduced a concept of the UGS score, the ungovernable score. Well, a good buddy of mine from Spags Unfiltered put out a video and asked me some questions and asked for my response. So here's my response to his questions about the ungovernable score. If you're interested in it, come on, let's check it out.
What in the hell is a UGS? An ungovernable score? Want to get unfiltered? Let's get unfiltered. A friend of mine who has a YouTube channel, his name is Tag, and the channel is Life Done Free. So Tag, I want to ask you a question, and I hope to God I can get a response, maybe a response video from you, maybe a comment here on my video, whatever you want to do, man. I watched that video and I was super intrigued. I loved the concept. I want to ask you about debt and credit, because I've heard you say before that one of the thumbs that society, the masters, the rulers has over us, they can squash us with, is monetary debt.
Well, Bobby, let me stop you right there. First, debt is nothing more than a pledge against your future time and energy. When you take on this debt, you are making a bet that your future will contain enough excess to meet not just this debt obligation you took on, but whatever your needs happen to be at the time.
I especially enjoyed your video discussing the illusion of equity. That was a great video.
Well, Bobby, I am super happy that we're not going to go down this road of equity, that you recognize that equity is an illusion. And when you count the total amount of money invested, not just for your mortgage, but for your taxes and your insurance and the costs that go into maintaining a home, that equity truly is an illusion. And so I'm thankful this conversation isn't going there.
The only debt I have at all right now are two things: my house, and this year I put in about $24,000 worth of brand new windows on the house. I saw that as a worthwhile investment for energy savings and a whole bunch of other reasons. But that's it, my house and the windows. And the only reason those things were bought on credit through the bank or through the lending institution was because I didn't have, at the time, 120 grand to drop on a house or $24,000 to drop on a window. However, my wife and I have been talking about windows for years, and we finally decided to do it because we had paid the balance on our house down to the point where our home balance combined with the balance from the windows is significantly less than my property value. So if I were to sell my place right now...
Hey Bobby, just out of curiosity, so you're going to make a future bet based upon a home value of today? Or do you know what the home value will be down the road? And who gets to determine the home value? Is it true capitalism? Does that work great in our country today? Or is it manipulated in any way? Just curious what your thoughts are.
I would be able to pay off both of those debts and have a significant chunk of cash left over because of the amount of improvements we've done to the property. So am I correct in not using credit cards, not using lines of credit, buying everything cash, saving my money to purchase the things that I want or need?
Bobby, I think the first thing is what I would do here is, first of all, you have to recognize what the different types of debt are, right? Because they're not all equal. For example, you just asked about credit cards. So credit cards are an unsecured debt. What that means is that they're not backed by some type of collateral. So if you default on a credit card, there really isn't a lot they can do to you with the exception of sick a debt collector on you. Now, they can petition a court to put a lien on things, although those things are rarely successful. This is why a credit card charges a higher rate. But by going, for example, and buying a generator on a credit card, the risk of losing that generator if you default is not good. The flip side to this is, let's talk about secured debt. Secured debt would be like your home, or maybe even potentially your windows. Did you use your home's equity as the collateral against the windows? Because if you did, what this means is, in the case that something happens, you've already mortgaged your future energy and you've mortgaged your future time because you believe that you'll be able to pay your current needs plus the debt that you already took on for these windows. But if you default, they'll take your home. If you bought it on some other form where it's unsecured, then they wouldn't be able to take it home. And so I think it's important to recognize the difference between those two. The advantage to a secured debt is a lower interest rate. The advantage to an unsecured debt, they can't really do much to you.
And only using credit in those situations where there's no other way for me to come up with that significant amount of money to do something like purchase a house, for example.
Well, Bobby, this is actually the main rub, and this is part of the, why we are enslaved today. Because the truth is, home ownership is really out of the reach of most people as far as being able to just write a check. And so we're limited to being able to buy on credit. Many of you guys have heard me say that the only thing that I would take debt on for today would be additional land. So we have to work inside the system to get us to a place where maybe we can live a little bit freer. I've used borrowed money, previously in my life. I don't do it anymore because I'm unwilling to leverage my future energy and my, my future time. However, you got to do what you got to do. And again, most people aren't going to be able to reach out there and get a home. So if I was going to take debt on, a home is probably what I would do.
Even with vehicles, we buy used vehicles. My vehicle right now is a 2002, and we're going to drive it into the ground, right? And then we're going to go buy another used vehicle for $3,000-$4,000 that we will pay for in cash, that we've saved money towards, and we'll drive it into the ground. We never buy a new vehicle. We never extend those huge lines of credit past just the house and what we've done to the house. So please, if you could, let me know how that fares for me on my ungovernable score.
Well, Bobby, how does that relate to your ungovernable score? Well, again, your windows, how were they bought, right? I mean, I understand the mortgage, right? So you certainly couldn't put a 100 in the shelter category, right? Because at the end of the day, you don't own your home. The bank owns the home. Now, I know you're working to get there, bud, and I know you're working really, really hard to get there. The windows, again, is it the same thing? Is it tied to collateral of your home? Because then that would take a percentage out of, how free I am. Could you then add the equity and give yourself a score for your equity in your home? Absolutely. And that's for you to determine. I don't know what your home is worth, and nor do I know what it'll be worth tomorrow or, 3 years from now. As far as your vehicles being debt-free, that's absolutely more freedom, right? You could absolutely add into your UGS score.
And if you have suggestions on how I can improve my ungovernable score with the specific areas of credit and lending, I am all ears. I await your response.
So, Bobby, let's first talk about the two pieces of debt that you have. We talked about the home, and that just is what that is. I mean, again, buying a home is out of the reach of most people just being able to write a check. So sometimes you got to just accept debt as part of your life and then just strive to get beyond it. And so how would I improve your ungovernable score in reference to your house is pay it off. What is your debt to income ratio? How much money do you bring in versus how much money is dedicated to your home? We talk about the pillars of, your needs, and that's, shelter and food and water and energy and medical. And so I think the better you move that on, the better that UGS score will grow up. Let's talk real quick about your windows. So the first thing is I would not have done that, and I wouldn't have done it for several reasons, but let me tell you what I would have done. So I would have went to the store and I would have went and bought 2 windows with whatever cash that I could have come up with, or 3 windows. I would have put them on. I would have saved my money and went to the other windows, because at the end of the day, you're still paying an interest rate. More importantly than that is you're leveraging your future energy and time. And my friend, that is something that is fixed for us. I only have so much energy left in my life, and I only have so much time left in my life. And so I'm going to be very reluctant to leverage that anywhere. So let's suppose for the moment that windows were a necessity, and this is something that we absolutely had to do. So the first thing that I would compare is what's the interest rate on the home equity loan versus the credit card. For example, and I don't know whether you got a home equity or whether you put it on a credit card, but let's just play with the home equity real quick. Let's say the home equity loan was 10%, and the credit card was 12%. I'd have put them on a credit card. And the reason I would have done that is because for the 2% difference in that interest rate spread, I would have liked that they couldn't come take my home. That would have just been a little bit of safety for me. I mean, after all, I am a prepper and a homesteader, and I'm looking forward to, times of trouble. And so I would have managed that risk. Now, I'm not suggesting one is better than the other. I don't know what your particular situation is, and I would bet that your home equity loan, if that's what you took, was far less than that of a credit card. Bobby, the final point that I think I would make on improving your UGS score would be, I talk quite often about front side and backside money, right? And so, you and your wife work very, very hard on the backside, making sure that you're not spending what you don't have to and that excess money is going to getting you more free. But let's talk about the front side a little bit, which is, we need to find other streams of income. You need to get yourself involved in things, even if it's minor, that brings a little money here and a little money there. And there's lots of opportunities out there. I talked earlier about your debt to income ratio, how much money comes in through the front door versus what is allocated to, those 5 basic principles, that take care of our needs. And so what I would do is I'd continue to try to add additional streams of revenue, invest in yourself, and continue to work that off until you no longer have the burden of living in a home that the bank owns. So Bobby, let me just kind of summarize all of this. First of all, I picked on you a little bit through the video, but the truth is I know you and I know your life, and you're a long way in this journey. The other fact of the matter is that none of us, I want to say none of us, most of us could never get our UGS score up without using credit. I used credit all the way through my younger years, and it allowed me to put myself into a position to where I could use my negative interest savings account that they refer to now as equity, to be able to make big swings and to be able to put money away and be able to do some of those things. So nobody's born with enough to go do it. You got to work inside the system to do it. But I would encourage you to get out of the system as fast as you can. The real question is, how long do we want to be a slave? Right? Do I want to be a slave from the time I hit about 18 to the time I hit 50, 60, 70, 80? What is that length of time? Because we're all going to go through it. And I think the challenge is just to shorten that length of time the best that we can. So, Bud, you just keep doing what you're doing. You're doing a great job. Take my pointers, though. Let's try to get some more streams of income coming in. Let's make sure that you guys are waging the money on the backside and try to leverage it the best way that you can. And, till we do it again, hold the line.